Thank you for joining us today to review the requirements for the Spartans home automation system. We want to ensure that the system meets your expectations. My name is Elliot Weidman, and let's start with the basics.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
Great. So let's start with the core feature. First, being the all-in-one device management. Could you explain how the users envision managing all their smart home devices from different manufacturers on a single platform? And are there any specific functions they find essential for the centralized approach?
Yeah, absolutely. Our users definitely want everything in one place. They don't want to be jumping between different apps or controls. There's already a host of different applications and each with their own proprietary software. So they're really looking to consolidate all of that. But at the same time, it would be helpful if they could categorize things, like putting all lighting devices together and all security devices into one section. That way, the users can quickly find and manage them without scrolling through a long list.
Right, that makes sense. Customizable sections for different device types. Okay, that would streamline the experience. I imagine it helped make daily management more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be easier to group things by category, especially for quick access.
All right, that's great feedback. We can add functionality for customizable dashboards so you can group devices according to their type.
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay, next, let's talk about controlling specific areas like lighting, security, climate, and entertainment. Out of these, which areas are most important for our users? And are there any additional controls you like to have for these?
So for our users, security and climate control are our top priorities. Security is essential, especially when they're not home. And climate control, it's convenient to adjust the temperature remotely before they arrive home. So it's definitely important to have those types of activities covered. Lighting and entertainment are nice to have, but users can manage those without any urgency.
Understood. So for the initial phase, we'll prioritize security and climate control. That way, you'll have quick, reliable access to these critical functions.
Yeah, I think that would cover the main needs from the users for the start. Um, those two are what will be used most often.
Check that off. And on to the next feature, voice and mobile control. How important is it for the users to have both voice and mobile app options? And which platforms do they prefer, like iOS, Android, or voice assistant like Alexa?
So it's definitely a spectrum, but the primary operating system for mobile devices is Android, and our users prefer Amazon Alexa for voice control. Having options for both voice and mobile control would be ideal, as was indicated by our users. They've noted that sometimes it's easier to speak a command, but other times they prefer using their phones.
Got it. So having both voice and mobile control options is necessary for flexibility. And an Android app with Alexa integration would be the perfect setup.
For most users, that would be the preferred setup, but supporting Google Assistant or iOS would also be helpful to meet the needs of all users. We definitely want to make sure we're covering as large of a user base as we can.
Yeah, that's noted. Okay. We'll make sure the system works with both Android and iOS. Also, Alexa as well as Google Assistants to offer a comprehensive setup. Now let's discuss accessibility. What specific features, such as screen readers, voice guidance, or haptic feedback, would improve user experience?
So voice guidance would definitely be a big help. I know some users, especially those with visual impairments, would appreciate that. Haptic feedback also would be useful, but it's not as essential as voice guidance.
Okay, right. Got it. Voice guidance can make navigation much easier for visually impaired users, so we'll make that a focus in our accessibility feature as well. Uh, For device discovery and integration, how important is automatic device discovery? And would having an option to manually add devices be valuable?
The automatic discovery option is definitely a must for our users. However, if a device isn't detected, it would be great if they could manually add it without too much hassle.
Okay, so a mix of both automatic discovery for simplicity and manual entry for flexibility. That way, users have control over any device that might be missing initially.
Yes, that's exactly right. We don't want our users to get stuck if something isn't detected through the automatic discovery.
And moving on, in case of network failure, which devices would you prioritize for local control, such as Bluetooth over Zigbee?
So security devices like locks and cameras, as well as lights, those are critical for safety and security, uh, especially if the network goes down unexpectedly.
Oh, yes, that makes sense. We'll focus on making sure those critical devices remain operational locally during network outages.
Perfect. Knowing those are covered is definitely going to give our users peace of mind.
Yeah, I know here in Georgia, it's always a lot of storms, so especially in like midtown areas, lights always going out. So that's great to know.
Sure.
Let's dive into security protocols. Do you feel that multi-factor authentication is sufficient to security to secure the system, or would additional access logs and alerts improve your sense of security?
The multi-factor authentication is good, but having alerts for any unauthorized access attempts would be even better. It'd be helpful to know if someone tries to access the system without permission.
That's a great point. We'll add logging and alerts for any unauthorized attempts to access the system, so you're notified if anything suspicious happens, anything unsuspected.
Yeah, that absolutely sounds ideal. Our users have indicated that they'd feel a lot more secure with those notifications enabled.
All right. Well, thank you. That wraps up our functional part. Now, Jeff, how you doing?
Good, Elliot. How are you?
Doing great. Hope you're having a good morning. I just want to go over some of the non-functional parts. So, switching gears to non-functional needs. Let's talk about security and privacy. Are users concerned with the system compliance with GDPR? And do we need options to review and consent to what's stored?
Yes, so GDPR compliance is important all around. The users definitely want to know what data is being stored, and they'd like to have the ability to consent to the storage and to remove that consent as needed.
Got it. We'll ensure full GDPR compliance, including user consent options for transparency. For performance, what's the maximum acceptable delay for actions like unlocking doors, and how important is stable performance as more devices are added?
So a delay of more than about a second is going to feel too slow for something like unlocking a door. Um, Definitely want consistent performance. That's essential to the users. Even as more devices are added over time, still need to maintain that consistency.
Understood. We'll aim for low latency, under a second, especially for critical actions, and scalability will be a priority to keep performance steady as you add devices over time. When it comes to usability, how intuitive does the system need to be? Would a customizable dashboard for frequently used devices improve this?
Yes, exactly. So being able to customize a dashboard would make things a lot easier for everybody. If we could maybe group the commonly used devices so that the users don't have to search every time, that would be ideal.
Okay, we'll make sure to add that feature for streamlined navigation and control. Um, Now, for interoperability, which communication protocols are people currently using, and how important is future compatibility with new protocols?
So right now, our survey found that the majority are using Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. but we did hear that it would be great if the system could handle future protocols as well. People don't want to be limited in the future and locked into just what's available today. So
Oh no, we can definitely expand protocol support to ensure long-term compatibility with new device standards. That is one of our main interests. Um, Lastly, would the customer prefer that the system minimizes data storage with automated deletion policies? And how often would they like to review their consent settings?
So we were told that they feel more secure with minimal data storage and an automated deletion after a set period of time. Also, having the option to review and manage the consent, we were told would be the ideal scenario.
Okay. Uh, let's implement data minimization policies and regular prompts for consent review. Uh, hey, well, thank you guys for your time. Thank you for your hard work. Let's make the adjustment. Let's adjust the requirements slightly based on this session to ensure to meet the customer needs precisely.
Thank you. Yeah, this has been very helpful. I'm excited to see the project start to really take shape and come alive.
Yeah, glad to be able to provide the knowledge that we gained through all of our research.
Great working with you guys. Look forward to getting this thing out and seeing how it does in operation. Have a great day.
For sure. Yeah. Feel free to reach out if you have any other questions.
Right, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, how you doing? My name is Elliot Weidman, and this is the requirement validation document that was created after our requirement analysis meeting. And just to go over a little bit of the details, so the purpose of this requirement validation document is to confirm that the functional and non-functional requirements of the Spartan smart home automation system align with the stakeholder needs and project objectives. This document captures validation feedback, adjustments, and prioritization, ensuring that the requirements meet stakeholder expectations. The validation session was conducted with team members assigned roles as stakeholders and requirements engineers. So just to briefly touch on, after we conducted our interview, we took note and we came up with some adjustments that were made. So just to go over, like for the all-in-one device management system, our functional requirement number one, some of our sources were end users. We used interviews, also questionnaires to gather our data and analysis. The initial definition was system provides a centralized platform for managing all smart home devices. After we conducted our interview, our stakeholder gave us some feedback, which they confirmed our requirement, but they suggested, some customizable dashboards. So adjustment that was made was adding customizable dashboards for different device categories. And just followed suit with all notes that we took from our interview with the functional and non-functional requirements. So prioritization adjustments that were made based on stakeholder feedback. So we had several requirements that were reprioritized to reflect their critical nature in ensuring system functionality and usability. Our number one was functional requirement number 4, accessibility features. Originally, which was medium high, it was raised to high to ensure inclusivity. Non-functional requirement number 1, security and privacy, which was already high with emphasis on GDPR compliance. Non-functional requirement 5, which is our third one, is data minimization. Originally, which was medium high, which was raised to high due to privacy importance and GDPR compliance needs. Just to summarize our adjustments, the validation session resulted in several modifications to both functional and non-functional requirements to align better with stakeholder expectations. Customizable dashboards added as a usability feature in both functional and non-functional requirements. protocol compatibility expanded to enhance interoperability in functional requirement number 5 and non-functional requirement number 4. Data retention implemented policies to comply with GDPR in non-functional requirement number 5. Access logging and alerts, enhanced security logging for better access monitoring. And some of our next steps, which would be refining our goal model and developing use cases and scenarios. Thank you.